Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped and the guy just didn't get it? This was some years ago. I was 22, had been talking to this guy for a while, and was ready to lose my virginity. I was a college student living at home, but my mom and stepdad were on vacation celebrating their anniversary, and I figured this would be the perfect time to make my move. He and I already had a date scheduled, so before we went, I cleaned my room and the entire house from top to bottom, created a chill playlist on my computer to listen to, shaved and waxed away every necessary inch of my body from the forehead down, put on sexy underwear, and waited for him to pick me up. We went out to the movies, and when he dropped me off at home, I invited him in, with the added context and in a leading, flirty tone of voice that we would be all alone and had all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted. He said, "That's all right. I'm sure you want to enjoy this time you get without your parents to be alone." He was sure, and he was wrong. I just stared at him for like 10 solid seconds in silence before I nodded, said, "Yeah, that's true," and got out of the car. The walk from my driveway to the front door was the real walk of shame, and I hadn't even gotten any good sex out of it. After that, I sat in my very clean house in my sexy underwear, eating pizza and wondering how that could have gone differently. It was my first time trying to seduce a guy into sex, and it failed miserably. I laughed about it though, and I still laugh about it now. I just figured it wasn't in the cards for me yet. Ended up losing my virginity a few more years later to the guy I'm currently engaged to, so it worked out wonderfully. He's pretty good at picking up what I'm throwing down. So, answering in lieu of my late wife here, I, husband, am dumb. Like, really dumb. She and I met and became friends very quickly, but I didn't know she apparently had a huge crush on me. I thought she was out of my league, and apparently she thought I was out of her league too, but she couldn't stop the feels. She rubbed her feet on me while we were talking, asked me in detail about my package, gave me her phone number with the line, "Hit me up if you want pizza and sex." We went out for lunch. She offered to fillet me for a Dr. Pepper. And she was very insistent that we got Meat Lover's Pizza when I asked her what she wanted for watching a movie later. After we watched the movie, she was in my bed. I figured she was just wanting to keep warm and cuddle, but she strutted into my bathroom stark naked, and I had some DEDs staring at me. She kissed me and told me, "I want you to fuck me, you idiot." A regular romance story there. In my defense, she had a really warped sense of humor, and I thought she was kidding with all that stuff. It felt so natural with us being friends that the thought didn't even cross my mind until she propositioned me that there was potential for more. I had had some really fucked up exes, and I thought romance was something where I had to jump through hoops for the other person and wait on them hand on foot, but she was different. That's why she was the one who I got on one knee for. Advice to the ladies out there: if my wife telling me, "I want you to fuck me," got through my legendarily thick skull, I think as a last resort, that'll get through to anybody. So this was 2 weeks before me and my ex started dating. He used to walk me home from school every day. I only lived a 12-minute walk away from school, whereas he lived a 20-minute drive away from the school. Still made sure to walk me home from school every day. Anyways, not the point. Anyway, one day he walked me home and I went to open my garage and saw that no one was home yet. So I make the executive decision to invite this boy, who I had a raging crush on, inside my house with no one home for a house tour. He agreed, and in we went. So I show him around the house, and the entire time we're flirting. I eventually bring him upstairs to my room. So we hang out in there for a while and we start talking about sex. We ended up making a deal that if we both hadn't lost our virginity by senior prom, we'd lose it to each other. Once again, we were in my house with no one home, in my room with my door closed. I'm pretty sure telling a kid you've made clear you're flirting with heavily that you would indeed fuck him is a large sign. We ended up dating 2 weeks later. "We're dating now," is how he asked me out. I was in 10th grade when this occurred. In my awkward sophomore mind, I viewed this as a pretty straightforward deal. I later talked to him about it about 2 weeks into the relationship, and we both had a laugh about it and our awkward inability to tell each other that we liked each other. Once again, I was 15. Guy here was invited to study by one of the girls in my class at her apartment. We're about half an hour in and she says she might take a shower. I'm like, okay, kinda random, but okay. Anyway, she starts telling me the door to the shower is broken, so don't come in. Says it 3 or 4 more times. Again, I'm like, okay, weird she said that multiple times, but okay. Hour later, the shower is still running. I can hear her singing and humming away, so I know she's okay and hasn't drowned. Thinking, gee, that's a long shower though. Water goes off and she comes out dressed and says, "You didn't come in?" I'm confused as I'm like, what the fuck? She told me not to. She sits back down, clearly distracted and not wanting to study. We wrap up after 5 minutes, drive home. Mate asks me how study was about a week later and the situation, which I hadn't given a single brain cell of thought to since. I explained to him. As I'm saying it out loud, the penny drops as to what a big fuckhead I am. When I was about 35, I lived in a beach town near a university. My neighbors were all college kids. Next door was 2 college girls. One was always flirting with me. One hot summer day, she turned up at my door in nothing but a long t-shirt. She asked if she could hang out in the AC. I said sure, and she came over to the sofa I was sitting long ways on and laid with her back to my chest and asked if we could snuggle. I was okay with that. She then asked me to rub her belly, which I did. As you can imagine, after about an hour, I was getting a little worked up and touched her breast while rubbing her belly. She jumped up and stormed out. I was like, what the fuck? She later said she didn't see me like that. I asked her why she'd show up almost naked, lay down between my legs like couples do and ask me to rub her belly, and then get pissed when I tried to progress things. She said she looks at me like a big brother. I was like, what the fuck is your family like? Straight up told him I like him. I think his response was something like, but I'm kinda trash, or something self-deprecating. He's friends with my best friend, and she confirmed that his depression is so bad that it takes a lot before he actually accepts any sort of positive attention. I think to some degree it's mutual, hard to tell as I too am oblivious when guys drop hints. Edit. So this blew up more than I was expecting. Never had a comment get nearly this much attention. We're all on the same proverbial boat, it seems. Here's a summary of some common answers. Also, thank you for the silver, my first award. What happened after? We still talk nearly daily. No forward motion on the I like you front, but I'm gonna be there for him whether we're friends or something else. There's definitely some forky tendencies, I suppose. Some solid points out there about the lack of compliments towards men. Everyone needs to be complimented here and there, whether it's about looks or talent, or even just a nice shirt. Accepting them is hard as hell, though. Even though I'm a guy, I have a good story about it. When I was younger, there was a girl that we were super close, best friend for ages at this point. One day she was a little off, so I asked her what was going on. Her response was something like, I have something that I need to tell you, but I'm afraid what you will think about me after telling you this, and I love our friendship so much that I can't see a future without you. I really, really love you and don't want to ever lose you. I just translated the most important parts of the text. I still have that screenshot. My response was, oh, I really love you too. Can't see my future without you, and we're going to be best friends forever. At that time, I really wanted to date her, but still didn't get what she meant. Took me 2 days to start understanding what was happening, and 3 of her friends screaming at me that she wanted to date me. I am a guy, but I can share my density as the guy that missed the hints. I went to a store where there was a girl I liked in college. We used to small talk while I browsed and never bought anything, being a poor college student. This time I came in the store and she said and we chatted a bit while I shopped. She complained, I'm gonna be home alone tonight. My family is out of town. I replied, oh, that's too bad. She says, I'm off at 5 today. It was 4 at the time. What are you up to tonight? I'm up for anything. Oh, nothing, just sitting at home and watching a movie. My brain must have completely self-destructed because the conversation ended there. I never saw her again after that. Either she quit or was avoiding me. I must have been in a daze from school to miss that cue. This guy I was dating decided to read to me a letter his father wrote to him that had advice on dating. My date was an excellent gentleman with a whole lot of things going for him. Unfortunately, hygiene wasn't one of them. Anyway, he came to a part of the letter where his father had listed different reasons why it is so important to have good hygiene. I piped up then with "Oh yes, I love that piece of advice. Your dad is really smart." He never took the hint. When I later broke up with him, I never told him, but hygiene was one of the reasons. I really hope he's doing okay out there and either figured it out or found someone with a stronger stomach. Yes, I should have told him directly. I was younger and dumber then and didn't want to hurt his feelings. I know better now. Thanks for all the advice. I'm a guy, but one time I was hanging with a longtime friend of mine who I used to have a crush on and who knew that I had a crush on her and had rejected me numerous times over 7 to 8 years in her dorm. We decided that we were both tired, but her other bed was occupied by our other friend, so I was gonna lay down on the floor. She was like, "There's room in my bed for you anytime." So I hop in bed with her thinking nothing of it. The next few minutes were kind of a blur, but eventually we were literally hugging with her leg wrapped around me, and she looked me in the eyes, bit her lip, and said that she was horny. I never made a move beyond that since she had spent the past almost decade of my life rejecting my advances. A guy here, but my now wife still kids me about the time when we were first dating. We had already been intimate just before this event, but it was still extremely new. As in, the next date after our first time. We went out for drinks and I didn't realize how much she had. We get back to my place, I put her to bed, and head out to the couch. She was legit mad at me for not taking things further until she realized my point of view. It was actually the first time she stayed over and I had to leave for work in the morning, so I woke her up to say goodbye and that I would be back for lunch and how to lock the door if she had to leave before I got back. Fun memories of me being the upstandiest of gentlemen. When my boyfriend and I had just started dating, we were laying down after watching a movie, but this was a small bed and he was being really respectful and giving me space. I kept wiggling backwards so I could get closer to him and he kept inching backwards too, since he thought I was just trying to get comfortable and he was in the way. He ended up sitting in a chair next to the bed. 3 years later, we are still together and I still think it's pretty funny. He told me that when he was in the chair, he purposefully left his hand next to me in case I wanted to hold it, but I guess I missed that sign too. He didn't get out of the bed because he was uncomfortable. He truly thought he was taking up too much space and didn't realize I was trying to cuddle. Invited him over to watch a movie, eventually laying my legs across his lap and hard flirting, but after 4 movies, I finally had to make the move. For clarification, we'd been flirting via text, sexting, exchanging nudes, etc. I had previously told him to his face that I liked him, and I'm giving him the green light to make any move. Still nothing after a month of dating. I seem to always take the lead on things, and I like assertiveness, but I wanted to give him the opportunity to feel like he could be in control. That it was okay. I was very direct many times. We'd had several discussions about it. Still nothing. Even after I finally made the move, I had to literally say, "I want to have sex with you." We were discussing costumes, and I sent a picture of me in my bunny suit and said I'd need help out of it. His response was telling me he hoped my roommate was home or that would suck. I had to tell him I was implying I'd like him to take it off of me, and it took him a minute to catch up. For those of you concerned, it was very much a suggestive picture. I'm not sure it could have been perceived as just friendly. And no, you won't be getting proof of said picture for those in my DMs. I was very much ready to hit him with that bat of bluntness because we get along great and he'd seemed flirty with me before. On our first date, my current boyfriend and I went out to dinner, to a bar, and eventually back to his house to watch scary movies. After hanging out for almost 8 hours at that point, practically cuddling into him the entire time we were watching movies, dropping as many hints as I could, around 3 a.m. when we were both fighting to stay awake, I finally had to look his dumb ass in the eye and ask, "So are you gonna kiss me or not?" Though he was totally oblivious, it did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. I'm the guy in this situation, but I couldn't help not sharing this story. In college, this girl I was really into asked if I wanted to hang out at my dorm and drink and watch Netflix. She came over and we were watching and drinking on the couch in the living room per my suggestion. Things are going good, and about an hour into it, she says, "Ooh, let me see your room." So we go to my room. She takes her shoes and socks off and immediately sprawls herself out on my bed and says, "Oh my God, your bed is so comfortable." I responded with, "We live in the same building. It's the same bed as yours." She left about 10 minutes later. I'm a guy, but I have a story. A couple of years ago, a cute girl at the cash register in a local supermarket, where I was a regular customer at every night, said to me in a clearly flirty way with a big smile, "Oh, I thought you're not coming today. I'm so happy to see you." Her face was shining when she said this, but the dumbass I was didn't realize this, and my response was, "But why?" As I said this, her face went red and I could hear the glass shatter sound echoing in her. I have other stories too because I usually get the hints 5 years after they happened. He actually said this to me and it went straight over my head. This happened maybe in 6th grade, so we were young. We had been made fun of for being a couple, as they do in middle school. So we were walking his dog together and he says to me that the others are just making fun of us because they are jealous that we are so close. I didn't think much of it and I said, "Yeah, I like how good friends we are and how close we are." I didn't mean to friend zone him. I actually had a crush on him. Gosh, I was blind. Usually guys don't simply miss the hint. They are often too nervous and either let it slip by their subconscious or notice it and don't know what to do with it, so let it go. You have to be really direct if you want a response. Usually, but not always. Yes, many hints certainly do go unnoticed. There is fear on both sides. Fear of coming on too strong and being rejected, and being too vague as a result. And then, fear of misinterpreting hints and ignoring them as a result. If only we ignored our fear 10% more, how many millions of good times around the world would occur as a result? Not a girl, but I was staying a night at a hotel and the hotel bar had just closed. I went out front for a smoke and start chatting with 2 women. We shoot the shit for a few minutes and then I'll head back into the hotel and go to the elevator. We get in, they press 15, I press 9, and one of them turns to me and says, "I don't suppose there's a secret bar on the 9th floor we can go to?" My dumbass response, "No, but you can grab a cab and be at a bar in 10 minutes. Then the doors open and I leave. I once invited a coworker crush over at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. When he asked how he should get to my place, I told him to take an Uber and that he should bring clothes for work the next morning. Somehow, he arrived at my apartment thinking I had invited him over to help me pick an outfit for a first date I was going on later that week. He finally realized what was actually happening a couple minutes after he showed up, when I told him I didn't want any of our friends to know about this yet. And it was terrifying and awesome and it worked out. I'm sure if Emily from 15 years ago saw this thread, she'd say, "Invited this guy to my place after our date, got him into my room, into my bed. He was just lying there, so I told him my back was feeling sore and asked him if he could give me a massage." His reply, "Oh, I don't want to crush you with my weight." He was about 170 pounds, gave up and went to sleep. Truth is, I did get the hint, but at the time I was a virgin and I was convinced I had an STD. Yeah. Good combo. Turns out I didn't have an STD. I used to be oblivious, probably still am. There was a girl at a local grocery store who was flirting with me, but of course I didn't get it. After quite a bit of this, I leave town for a few months and we're corresponding via email. I can't remember why, but I was asking her a string of silly questions like, "Why is the sky blue? Chicken or the egg first? Where do babies come from?" etc. She answered them all, saving "where do babies come from" for last, and answered it with, "When you get back, I'm going to show you." I got that one. You are an attractive man. At least I think you are. At his place, quite late one night, I had assumed we were going to hook up. We were hanging out in his kitchen, and I suggested moving to the sofa to be more comfortable. "Nah, I'm good standing." "Hey, we should get a drink sometime and hang out." Dude was completely unaware that was me asking him out on a date. I do find it hard because when you drop obvious hints and they get ignored, I'm not sure if the guy is gently rejecting me or if he's just dumb. My fiancé thinks leaving my bedroom door open when she spent the night, when we were just friends and she lived out of town, and there was absolutely no reason for me to think anything romantic was going on, was obvious. I got up and closed the door because the AC was on and was low-key miffed. We were friends for a long time before we got together, and she had a meeting early in the morning, so I gave her my bed and slept on the couch. She left the door open, thinking I would take the hint. A guy I'm currently seeing invited me camping earlier this month. We were cuddling and I noticed how nice the showers are in the bathroom at the provincial park. They're really warm and lots of space for 2 people. Trying to hint him to join me for sexy time. This man, without missing a beat, says, "Actually, you could fit like 10 people in those showers." We laughed about it really hard the next weekend and he said, "I knew what you were getting at, but my brain just wanted to answer it logically." Guy here, and been told this by colleagues. Had a date with a girl I kissed at a festival. I got her number after that first kiss and asked if she'd be down to meet in less drunk circumstances. She was. We met, we talked, and I walked her home. She asked if she could hug me and if I wanted to sleep over. I told her I had a 40-minute drive back home. Now I saw this as an act of politeness. My female coworkers claimed it was definitely more. I still don't know though.